Welcome to part 1 of the Designated Drinker Show's Spring Fling Like You Mean It episode. I am your host, Louise Salas, and with me is a very good friend of mine. He's a friend that always inspires me to spring ahead. Our guest barkeep, Duane Sylvester. Welcome to the show.
Why, thank you. And I'm so happy to know that I inspire you so deeply.
Yes. Well, spring has sprung. Gotta make, it's time of year.
It's an awesome time of year. It's an awesome time to see what's new.
Yes.
To dust off what's old that you've been wearing. I mean, cabin fever can get real, and it's time to get outside and start. So.
Yep.
Fling it.
Fling it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing we have to worry about is hay fever.
Fling it. Just fling it. Take what you need and get around it.
There you go. Take a few meds and just keep going. Maybe a few shots.
I got to tell you, I suffer, and I do better outside, weirdly enough, than inside. So I'll wake up in the morning and feel all the congestion and stuff. Yeah. But as soon as I get outside, for some reason, it clears up. Maybe
you are a lucky guy.
I'm allergic to the house.
Maybe. We better not tell your wife.
Add that to the list of things not to tell the wife.
So, in my little humble opinion, there's a lot going on in the world. But I think what we really need, directly to your point, so we need some positive thinking, some delicious cocktails, and I really think it's just, that time of year.
Fling it.
Fling it. So, let me quote Robin Williams. Do you know what he once said?
Nano.
The great.
Nano.
Yeah, he did say that. Old folks know what that means. He said, spring is nature's way of saying, let's party.
Woo.
Yeah. Those are wise words.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's awesome.
Yep. So who better to do that with than our two friends here, our very talented friends, Amy and Julien. Welcome to the show, guys.
Hi, Louise.
Hi, Amy.
How's it going?
It's going. Amy, I can't believe this is the first time you've actually been on the mic. You've been a part of the show so many times. Nola, you've supported us in so many ways. The chick behind the scenes, making sure we're on time and doing what we need to do.
Very hard to wrangle you two on time. And keeping track of your water consumption whilst drinking.
I was just going to say, it's a hard job. It's a hard job to keep us sober. Not on this show. It's a dirty word here.
Responsible.
Hey, listen, all I think is by being responsible, you just give yourself more opportunity to have more fun.
Absolutely. Everything in moderation. Drink responsibly, kids. We'd be, wrong if we didn't say so. And Julien, actually, I realize that our paths, easy for me to say, have passed long ago when you were still slinging or crafting cocktails in Old Town Alexandria.
That's quite 5 years ago maybe.
Yeah.
I like to think.
Yeah.
I was there for about 3.5 years.
That's when I first became legal age to drink.
Amy, I thought she was going to admit that she used to babysit him years ago.
That's way truer than mine. Oh, I just turned 21. He might be my long lost child. Who knows?
I can see a resemblance there, right? Around the nose.
Yeah, exactly.
Certainly possible.
So, come on, let's do the Robin Williams thing. Let's get this party started, Duane. Let's start this off with the cocktail right off the bat. What do you think?
I'm good. It's the right time. Let me tell you something. You think of spring, what do you think of? Daytime, nighttime.
Daytime.
Daytime, and daytime drinking is
Love day drinking.
Awesome. I think the easiest thing to make at home or quickest thing to order when you go out is a spritz.
Nice.
And a seasonal spritz, grab yourself a bottle of Aperol, a bottle of sparkling, a little club soda, and you are on your way to making something easy, enjoyable,
and you
delicious.
Can make it sessionable too, right? I mean, because you control the amount of alcohol. These are pretty low, right?
Well, these are low alcohol. This is, again, your daytime drinking occasion where
it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly, and you can slide right into before dinner, or shall we say, aperitivo.
How do you say that, Julien?
Aperol, I would say in French.
Oh, the French say
Aperol.
Aperol for their aperitif. I get that mixed up doing, aperitif. Because I'm Italian.
You can't forget that the color is great for the Instagram photos.
Oh my goodness!
Patio.
You want to be seen drinking these?
If you haven't been seen drinking it, did it really happen?
Oh, you millennials!
To make it perfect, literally equal parts Aperol, sparkling water, and just a splash of soda. Then ice, it looks best for Instagram on a stem. If you build the drink before the ice and add the ice, there's no reason to stir. And then you finish it with a perfect orange.
Nice. Is it always an orange?
It should always be an orange for the Aperol Spritz.
Wonderful.
We want it to look just like this. That way, if you're at home, you're in a restaurant, it's perfect. At home, you can take pictures, post. Oh, just sitting at home
Yes.
in quarantine. No, sorry.
No, imagine you're on a patio in Italy, right?
Yeah. Well,
Imagine you're on a patio in DC.
Imagine.
You know?
yes, that's all we can do these days. Cheers. Here's
Cheers.
to spring.
Salute.
Salud. Oh, nice. Beautiful.
Duane, I got to back you up on the build and then ice, right? 'Cause then you don't need to stir it. I think it's one of my little pet peeves is people build their ice and then top off with the soda. And the guess falls on them to stir it up and
Looks like a layered
agitates
drink.
the bubbles and yeah. I don't
I
know.
mean, it gives them something to do, so
So at home, let me just be, because I'm a little confused. You put all the, you built the drink in the glass.
in the glass, it's easy. You pour equal parts of Aperol and your sparkling wine. Prosecco.
Yes.
Okay? If you were measuring,
Yes.
you could do an ounce and an ounce, and then just a splash of soda. As much soda as you like
Yep.
to lengthen it.
Yep.
Then add your ice and your orange slice.
It's ready to
and
go.
Take
Gotcha.
a picture, you're ready to go.
Nice.
It's bulletproof.
Nice. It's beautiful.
Bulletproof.
Makes me feel bulletproof.
Love
Amy,
hearing the
do you-
dog.
Yeah. Amy, do you do anything a little different to yours? Is this the class? This is a classic
No,
way,
this
yeah?
is the classic. This
Yeah.
is definitely the right way to go about it, for sure. If you don't have experience drinking a more bitter aperitivo, though,
Yeah.
I find like if you're easing your way into it, adding a little splash or bar spoon of orange juice can sweeten it that little bit for
Oh.
those if you're trying to really
Yeah.
get used to the flavor of Campari, the taste of Aperol. But this is the way that I would enjoy it personally.
Could you just squeeze your orange? Would that suffice?
You're not
Would that give
squeezing
you-
my orange.
Ooh, only when no one's looking.
Super customizable.
We're gonna add that
me
to the
too.
list of things not to tell my wife.
Or my husband. Or Gina. We miss Gina.
Gina
She's taking a
knows.
little R&R.
Gina
so
knows.
it takes all three of you to fill her shoes. Here's to Gina.
Cheers.
Cheers,
Make sure Stacy.
Oh, this tastes wonderful. I'm gonna have a second.
Come on now, it's a long day. We gotta remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
You can have some of mine,
It's
Wayne.
all day.
All day. It's all
It's
day.
all day.
So
If you're gonna drink all day,
Yes.
make it an Aperol Spritz.
Yeah.
We
'Cause
should, we should call somebody. Is that a meme?
yeah. It should be after the show. Our millennials here make sure they'll take care of that.
Do you guys find that as the weather gets warmer, people start drinking earlier in the day?
As the consistent opener here, yes, I think that definitely happens. But then again, you could also argue that when it's like a snow day or a rainy day, and people they'll actually come out and start getting it in early too. So you kind of never really know.
So
So it's actually those really beautiful days where people are more out and about doing things and maybe not spending their time inside a bar like this one. But
So speaking of that, where are we? Where the hell are we doing?
Can you hear all the development and construction outside?
We can. We are at last call here in the Union Market District. Once again, Gina's hosting all of us in her absence.
I am Gina.
That's a strong statement. That's
I am
a very
Gina. I feel like Gina.
Yeah.
I look like Gina.
Well, no.
In my mind,
Okay then.
I identify as Gina.
Okay, well, who am I to say you can't? Yeah, so folks at home, if you hear all that banging and construction, it's killing us here, but you know, it's positive change. Positive change. Exactly what we need here in DC this time of year. Progress. So, Julien, what's your approach to cocktails when you start, when you're alone, thinking about what your next... That sounded weird.
That's exactly when he does all of his thinking
When I
about
bite into
cocktails.
a York peppermint patty, I get the cool sensation of spring cocktails and thinking about creating them.
well, for me, making cocktails in Virginia, the way the kind of the liquor laws are in place there for bars and restaurants, you don't see a lot of your reps as much as you do here in DC, and you're not always incentivized by certain alcohols and things like that to put things on the menu. So I never really thought about the alcohol when I was making a cocktail. It was more of the ingredients. So I'd say ingredient driven. So whatever the seasonal things that were available to me were in Clifton, Virginia when I first started, and then later on in Old Town.
Where's that?
That's kind of what we focus. Clifton, it's a little historic town, kind of nestled in like Fairfax, Manassas, Centerville area, in a cute little town in the woods. I worked at Tremor's on Main there, where Stefan Tremor kind of just taught me to look at ingredients first, come up with a kind of a cocktail deal around that ingredient, and the spirit will come to you later. You can experiment. Don't tie yourself down to one. If you're making a mix of, we'll talk about later, parsley, there's many different spirits that can work and apply to that. So I kind of start there, and then the liquor's oftentimes an afterthought. And I hate to say that in front of a liquor rep right now, but that's kind of how it started. But now that I'm in DC and I get people bringing me spirits to try and encouragement from people like Duane, it kind of changes things a little bit. But I always like to think of what fresh fruit or fresh herb or what ingredient am I working at. I personally like lighter cocktails like the one we're drinking. So I love a good Manhattan and stuff like that. But I love adding fresh produce and things like that.
So you start with the ingredient.
I start with the ingredient
That's
first.
Interesting. That's
Every
cool.
time.
Amy?
The spirit will come to you.
Are you kind of in the same boat, or are you all over? I bet you're.
So in a similar vein, I definitely am ingredient driven. However, I'm all about the story. Like, I'm all about the history. I'm such a nerd, like everything to me is about like, what does this drink say about something? What story does this tell? That's always been my relationship with food. It's been my relationship with cocktails. Flavors tell stories.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm about.
That's interesting. I mean, you're saying a lot of the same. What about you, old man?
See, I attacked it completely differently, and especially when spring came about. For me, the drink is always about the experience. So, yes, the story, yes, the ingredients, absolutely the spirit, but it's about building the experience. How is that guest going to perceive this and enjoy it? And for me, when I'm thinking about spring and spring cocktails, it's got to be something new or something. What can I change for you this spring? When I was a million years ago, back when I used to make drinks, there was still an aversion to gin. There's still an aversion to gin by the masses.
Yeah.
And spring was the time where I could look at my ingredients, what's growing in the garden, tie it into a story that could be applicable to the local area, and then take a spirit that they might not readily drink. So if it wasn't gin, it was still a super grassy tequila, cachaça, or something like that, and then build upon that to create that new experience for them, so that when they walked away, didn't matter what the drink was, they walked away with a great feeling. Because for me, that's what it was always about.
It's really interesting to hear all three of you talk about it, because you're all very talented at your craft, but you have three very distinct ways of viewing it. And I think that's one really great thing about cocktails is, in bartending at this level, it's really like, for me, as I watch you guys, it feels more like watching chefs. And everybody has their own way to the art. And I think it's really
Chefs
interesting.
have shows. We need a show, guys.
I think that's what the designated drinker is.
Oh, we have a show.
You're on a show.
We need cameras. No one's watching us on the radio. You love watching us.
Gina's watching
Radio.
us.
Look at it.
I mean, a few of us have
Duane. He just put us on the radio.
I've got the perfect face for radio.
There you go. You definitely have the best voice for it. So, Julien, what do you think? It's time to shine. You ready to step behind the bar?
Yeah, happy to make a
Julian's making drinks.
little punch.
All right, Julien, it's all you, brother. What you got?
Cool. So when I think of spring drinks, we were talking about fresh ingredients and just ingredient-driven cocktails. So took an ingredient that I don't see used in cocktails enough. You see plenty of green herbs like mint and basil and even sage, but parsley, which is very good for you, by the way, is not being utilized enough. And
Why is it good for me, Julien?
Well, you know what? I've always just heard that.
Okay, we'll go with it. It's green.
It's green. It's green.
It's green, it's curly.
No one's ever questioned me. You're the first to question me on whether or not the green thing is good. So it seems as long as I convince everyone else.
It's good for your digestion.
There we go.
Parsley is good for your digestion.
We'll take it.
I knew Amy had my back.
There we go.
It's fiber.
So I implemented a technique here that I'm quite fond of, and I think Duane commented earlier that he's seen me do this before with other herbs and parsley alike. But it's blanching and shocking. So it's just a way of extracting as much flavor. And what unfortunately the listeners at home can't see is the beautiful color.
It is like beautiful grass green. It's so stunning.
So much deeper than grass, though. You know, it's so beautiful.
So oftentimes with herbs, we're kind of taught to just simply put them in a tin with a muddler and just mash them up and break out and release the flavors, and that certainly works pretty well for the most part. You'll definitely release the aromas and stuff like that. You can also release some bitter things as well, but you'll often lose the color. You won't really extract the color. Any color you get from a hard shake or a hard muddle will be temporary. The enzymes in the plant will inevitably start to brown. So what we want to do is temporarily put those to sleep as best we can. So the blanching and shocking process works really well for that. So to do that is really, really easy. You take a big pot of roaring boiling water and you salt it like you'd be making pasta. So salty like the sea. Salty like the sea. And you want to take a bunch of picked herbs. You don't want your stems in there. You can use your stems, but for this process, they blanch at different times.
I don't like stems and seeds in my blend.
So,
okay, there you go. In your what?
For this case, we just use the leaves. So sit there and pick parsley leaves like any good line cook has ever done for hours on end. And drop that into the boiling water for exactly 23 seconds.
23,
Not
not
a second,
24,
not
not
a
23 and a
second.
half.
So these enzymes in there are very, very kind of
Fragile.
Can you
fragile
sing
and
a chorus of a song while you're doing that to mark the 23-second mark?
you can do that. Think about washing your hands, just 3 seconds longer. So from there, you immediately want to remove those blanched herbs and drop them in an ice bath, shocking them. You would assume while doing this, you must be losing all this flavor in that salty water, but in that time, you're actually really not. That blanched herb that you've now shocked in the ice bath, you take and you puree into water. And that's basically the gist of it. You can sweeten that water some if you need, but you really don't need to.
Do you puree it with water? Or?
Puree it with water, yeah, and then fine strain it as best you can. Use a good blender. A bullet will work at home, but use a Vitamix if you have one. You'll get
Not
it even.
bad bullet.
Oh, hello.
Magic bullet blender. So yeah.
I might have
and
one
then
of
once you
those.
strain it, you have this really flavorful, really bright green water, and I think water is just a really important element in adding to all cocktails.
Is there a ratio to that?
Dilution.
I'm sorry. Is there a ratio when you said you add water, maybe you add a little simple?
Yeah,
or
so
something?
there's no way to do it. Like the more herbs, the better. The more flavor you're going to get. So I picked about a half quart, about a pint's worth of parsley. And that yielded me about a quart of liquid.
Gotcha.
So yeah, pint of herbs I'd say is a good way to start, but you can't overdo it. It'll just be extra minty or extra basil-y or extra.
Gotcha. And then you just use it based on your flavor,
Yep.
what you prefer. Gotcha.
Exactly.
Cool.
So this is for lighter drinks because you're adding, this is water, so we're pre-diluting a drink, so it's perfect for making a batch punch, which is what I've done here.
Oh, nice.
And I'm actually serving it in a gardening
It's so cute.
shower head pitcher.
It's so stinking cute.
It's a flower pot.
It's a flower pot with that nice shower head. So this is great for making drinks at home
I gotta
for some
tell
of
you,
your
when-
friends.
When Julien said he was bringing pot this morning, that's not what I thought.
And it's green.
And it's green, yes.
Sticks and stems. I don't
It's
know.
aromatic and it's quite dank. So yeah, I actually built this drink right into my flower pitcher pot. So just using about 3 ounces of my parsley water to make 2 drinks at a time. So about 3 ounces of gin, some lemon juice, a little bit of simple syrup, and just a touch of chartreuse just to bring out the herbaceous. Not enough really for you to notice. I probably could have left that out, but who doesn't want to give chartreuse a plug?
It's also my favorite, and he knows
Yes,
this.
it is.
All I ever
It's
drink.
delicious. But
You and many, many other bartenders. I
want to-
don't quite understand it, though,
I
to
want
be
to
honest.
taste this thing you call chartreuse.
it's just kind of a secret weapon when you're using kind of any herbs in a drink. It'll just kind of accentuate it if you use it almost kind of like bitters, so just a little delicate dash. So I maybe put about a 1/4 ounce in here. So to go over that ratio again, about 3 ounces of the parsley water, 3 ounces of gin, about an ounce of lime juice, 1/2 ounce of simple syrup, and just a dash of that chartreuse. And what you get is this refreshing, light, vibrant green cocktail.
It's beautiful.
That's beautiful. So Julien, this is really cool because, at home you can add as much of this as you want, and it's consistent at least within the batch for your drink, and you can add this to almost any drink. It doesn't have to be.
You
what
can
you're
drink it
doing
on its
today.
own. It's just parsley water. It's good for you.
Oh, my
Do
goodness.
a little shot of that in the morning
Nice.
before you go to work.
Yep, you're up. What do you
What does
think?
that mean? I'm gonna try it
What
right
do you
now.
think? Amy? Cheers.
It's delicious.
Cheers.
Salud.
This is right up my alley.
It's beautiful green. Kind of reminds me of like
There's
an Easter
something
basket.
delightfully herbaceous about the drink, and I don't know where that's coming from, which is great. I got to tell you,
Ooh, that is good.
I've snuck the parsley on the corner of my plate that I have no idea why it's on my plate.
Yep.
And it never gave me much flavor, but this application, just for the color alone, it's so beautiful. I mean, wow, thank you, Julien.
Yeah, it is beautiful.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Please come make drinks for me at my home.
You can do this with mint. You can do this with basil. You can do it with.
What about thyme?
Thyme. You can
Thyme is
absolutely do
my
it.
favorite.
We
I've
have
done it with
plenty of thyme.
arugula, which is nice and peppery.
Oh,
It's kinda fun.
interesting. Yeah.
I'm sure you could do it with spinach. I haven't tried.
I bet we could go so LA and do it with kale too.
Yes, I'm
There
sure,
you go.
absolutely.
Yeah.
You may want to, with something a little hardier like kale or something with like a good stem stock to it, maybe go
27
28, 27 seconds. Yeah, Duane, absolutely. Something a little hardier. And like, let's say after you're done picking that parsley, you want to do all the stems. You can do that as well, but blanch a little longer, probably about 27, 28 seconds for those
Oh, yeah.
stems.
Waste not, want none.
Waste not, want none. Absolutely.
awesome.
There's plenty of flavor in the stems.
Cool. So you're going to make sure that we have all those tips and tricks and how-tos, and we're going to send our guests. I don't have Gina to throw this at today. We're going to send them over to designateddrinker.show. What is that, Duane?
Designateddrinker.show.
Absolutely. And all of today's recipes and tips, and from this episode and from every episode that we've recorded and released since. So cheers to that. Thanks for the cocktails, guys.
Absolutely.
Salud. This
Salud.
is very good.
I know where I'm looking for the recipe later.
Absolutely. Cheers. The Designated Drinker Show is produced by Missing Link, a podcast media company dedicated to connecting people to intelligent, engaging, and informative content. Missing Link is a proud partner of Hearing Charities of America, a nonprofit organization that supports those who are deaf or hard of hearing. To learn more about HCOA or to find out about Missing Link's other podcasts, head over to missinglink.company. That's missinglink.company.